Hello, people. Welcome to the CLSR, and I'm your host, the counselor. And in our last episode, Hate Part 1, we talked about all different kinds of strategies that you can use to deal with some of this hate. And I think the last topic I was talking about was speaking up, having to confront that person who's hating you. Now, I know I made it sound a little bit easy to do. However, this could be a real challenge for a lot of people. And you got to take care of yourself and be ready and understand when you do speak up, you have to know yourself. You have to know what you're capable of dealing with. You got to know some of your strengths or some of your weaknesses. And you have to know about that individual too that you're going to be confronting on some level. Be careful. Always be careful. Make sure that you're thinking before you act. Because this person might not be the one that you want to confront. And if you do, you got some third party with you to protect yourself. Or at least to keep things chill. But that's an individual thing when it comes to speaking up. I don't suggest running from anybody, but make sure you know that when you put fire out there, do you understand? That's going to come back at you. It'll blow back. So remember, when you do deal with people, you're trying to speak with them, be cool. Try to be as cool as you can be. Do you understand? Because if you come with a hot head, because you could have some built up frustrations. We know what it's like when somebody hates you and they keep getting at you, and then you just had enough. You know what I mean? You just had enough and you just can't take no more. So what happens is you're like, that's it. I got to deal with this person. I'm going to get at him because you know what? I'm up to here and I can't deal with it. So I'm going to have to deal with them now because enough is enough. And then you take this anger and frustration and you start acting out. Instead of dealing the way you want to do on a calm, collective basis, you end up tripping out because that person might talk back a little bit and you might hear something that you just don't want to hear. So right there, you take it from there to the next level. So what I'm telling you to do is keep your cool and don't be a fool and make sure you stick to the rules. Kind of know what you want to say when you got to say it. And above all else, don't be rash. Haters feed on your emotions. If you respond quickly and emotionally, there's a good chance that you won't be able to make a good, strong point. If you lash out, you will only give them more reason to make fun of you. Do not let your words be clouded by anger and frustration. Give yourself the time to cool down before you respond. Avoid, and I do mean avoid this, and I'm going to tell some of you hotheads out there, avoid physical violence because it could be their fault. They could be pushing you to the edge. You know what I mean? You know that song, Don't Push Me Because I'm Close to the Edge by Grandmaster Flash? Y'all got to listen to that song because some people get pushed to the edge. And when you get pushed to the edge, there are serious consequences. Especially in today, people are calling the police, getting everybody involved for the simplest things. But do not, and I'm going to repeat, avoid physical violence at all costs. If you feel you got to get physical, or if you're feeling that heat inside of you, don't do it. Because you want to resolve conflict with measured words and confident maturity. Did you hear what I just said? Confident maturity. If hatred is fire, be like water and extinguish it. Be cool and collected. Fighting fire with fire doesn't work. What? What? You know that. You know yourself. You know if you're going to get heated. But then, see, a lot of you, when you're in the consequence phase, you're like, why did I do that? I knew myself. And it's too late, right? Because you done took it there. Because you're acting like you didn't know yourself. You got out of control. You got heated. All right? See, while you should never start a fight, don't let a hater hurt you. Learn self-defense and protect yourself if you need to. Turn your attacker's strength against them, right? And yes, I told you, you're going to have to deal with some of this cyberbullying out there because that's one of the biggest things out there. It's one of the best strategies you can do. Don't respond to trolls. Haters you run into online can sometimes be even more persistent than the ones you see every day. However, remember that their motivations are usually the same. They're looking for a reaction from you. Luckily, there are many ways of shutting down cyber bullies. Block harassers. Most online platforms allow you to block communication from certain users. But I got to tell you something right now. All right. And I mean, nothing works just once. Because I know when I get text messages or emails and I block those people, isn't it funny how you could block somebody, but then a couple weeks later they communicating again when you block? 99% when you block calls, that's beautiful. But when it comes to Gmails and emails, when you block people, a lot of times for some reason, it could be a month later, they got access again. So sometimes you just got to get off, right? Seriously. You know what I mean? Block harassers. Most online platforms, I'm telling you, allow you to block this communication from certain users. Use this feature to keep your hater from contacting you. On many forums, this feature will even hide his or her public posts from view to keep them from ruining your day. Check the rules of the game or website. Most prohibit trolling, threats, and other inflammatory communications. Instead of responding to such attacks, report them to a moderator. And I'm going to tell you, like, through personal experience, that's not easy to do. It sounds easy. I still recommend you do it. Go do what you got to do. Do your due diligence. But just know, that's not an easy thing to do to get that third party. Half these ones don't want to be contacted. Try to find that delete button. Try to eliminate some of that information through Twitter or Facebook. All these accounts, it's almost a miracle trying to find it, but you can do it. Get that help in there. Get the customer service. You know what I mean? Get that search part. Get in that search engine and start making some comments, telling the customer service, look, something's going on here that ain't right. You need to do something about it. You're getting warning that this is happening. Shut it down. Do something. Do you understand? Call your MP, your local government. Get a hold of Google somehow. Get a hold of Facebook. Make some effort. Or just get off the computer. You got to protect your privacy. And that's a hard thing to do today. Don't use your real name outside of Facebook and professional websites. A lot of you don't anyway. This is especially important if you have a unique name that can easily be tracked through a search engine. And there's those gurus out there, and you really don't need to be a guru. There's a lot of people out there stalking people. Some of you people know what I'm talking about. Some of those people that, you were with, and then you're done with them, and they can't be, finished with you. They still got to be watching your sites or checking or following you, and you got to keep. They're just so irritating, but they're out there. And the funny thing about it is there's always some silly app or software that could violate your privacy. You know what I'm talking about. And you wonder, how did this person get this information? Man, this person knows a whole lot about me. I ain't even dealt with them in a year, but this person's up here following me or trying to deal with me or making comments or putting fake accounts out there and putting my name. Just ridiculousness. See, this just tells you how rampant this craziness is when it comes to these platforms, is that they're really not monitoring anything. They're only out for the money making. They don't care about your welfare. So what you got to do is you got to watch what you post out there. And I just tell some of my clients, I say, look, you got to get off. Out of sight, out of mind. Get off the system if you have to. And you can do that. Seriously. Use a nickname when playing games and posting on forums. Consider using different nicknames to keep dedicated trolls from following you to multiple websites. Always remember that anything you put on that internet could potentially be accessed forever. Even if you think a forum is private and you delete something, a hater can easily download or screenshot it for later use. Think before you post. And the really sad part is there's people out there taking your images and your information, all right? Or the Catfish show wouldn't be popular. They're taking all this information and it's really down and dirty people. They're putting people on dirty sites and their images. And with the technology you call morphing and all that. It's just crazy what they can do out there. So that's why I said you got to watch yourself. See, when people start doing that, they start hating. See, especially if you are a minor, be extremely careful what type of information you give out online. Don't post things that could tip a stalker off to your home address or typically daily schedule. Think about it. And some of you out there who are ordering online, you're using your own address. Don't do that. People making promises. Some of you young girls out there getting men to give you gifts. And then I'll do this for you. And then they want to send, they just want to get your address. You'd be surprised. Once they get that, they'd be stalking, causing problems, do all kinds of things. You don't know who's watching you. So you got to make sure, get a P.O. box. Anything you got going through the mail, make sure it goes to the post office or something. Don't be having people giving out your address and your name and all that. No, don't do it. I don't care what they say. Protect yourself, because haters are out there. And tell someone if you feel threatened. If a hater goes from petty insults to direct threats, then simply ignoring them may not be enough. If this happens to you, tell someone you trust. If you're a minor, be sure to tell a parent or a guardian. Don't delete anything. Although you may be tempted to make these hurtful words disappear, it's better to keep them. Save all emails, messages, and chats. And sometimes take a picture with your phone of some of the comments, right? That's the way you can do it. You can take pictures with your phone, use it as an attachment, send it to your websites under name, and just keep this file. This is your inappropriate behavior email or something. You know what I mean? Where you could, get an iCloud account where you could keep this nastiness out there. So if this person's acting a fool, you could refer back to this information and, you could tell the police, look, this is how crazy this person is. They're out of control. They're acting like they're doing this when you could clearly see through this evidence that this is what led up to this behavior. I had nothing to do with this person. Look at the comments, look at the pictures, look at the images that they're doing. You got to do your due diligence, because there are haters out there, all right, that are at work. They ain't got nothing better to do. They're all sitting home, especially with the government on lockdown right now. Now they're doing twice as much damage out there. So you got to watch it. People are always doing something. Now they don't even have to leave the house to cause damage. All right? So make sure you use caution, because certain types of cyberbullying are illegal. If things escalate to where authorities need to get involved, you will need that proof that I'm talking about. All right? They can't just take your word. You might be honest. You might be upfront. And you might be telling them this, and they could believe you. But that's not going to be something. It ain't what you know, it's what you can prove. Do you understand? So emotion isn't going to get a judge, because they get desensitized. They're hearing that stuff all the time. But if they can't even act on it if they don't have proof. So you got to do it, and there's plenty of ways to do it. Record. Let's say if you got a partner that you are no longer with, and they've been verbally threatening you on the phone or something, or leaving messages, or if you see them in public, put on that record feature on that phone, and put it on. Click it on. If you see them getting close to you, put on the record and say, hey, leave me alone. And that person's like, no, I just want to talk to you. Leave me alone. I said, leave me alone. No, I just got something to say in there. And then you leave me alone. You effing this and effing that. See, this is what I'm saying. Then you got it recorded. You're like, look, take that to the police station. Say, look, I've been telling you, I gave them several warnings, and this person is bothering me. This person won't stop. It gives them an indication of what they're doing. At least they could go talk to the person. Now, we could talk about how that it could escalate later. That's a different podcast. How, you trigger. And that's what a lot of people are afraid of. This person going to that level because you're complaining. Because it's not as easy as that. But sometimes it has to be, because you don't know where this person's going to take it. Right? And take criticism gracefully if it happens. If you run into business, you are likely to get some negative reviews online. Right? Like, if you run this business online, a lot of you are doing it now. The anonymity of the internet can encourage disgruntled people to speak much more harshly than they would to your face. Don't let their words destroy your confidence, but do consider them carefully. Just because something is said in a negative way doesn't mean it's wrong. It's better to think of this type of hater as a harsh critic. Instead, the same thing goes if you are a writer or artist and post your work online. Nasty comments like these are distinct from harassment and should be dealt with very differently. And I mean that. Try reaching out to critics with personalized comments. Be empathetic, logical, and polite. Offer solutions. Try not to respond out of anger with poorly thought out words, because that's going to trigger some of them, right? It's going to get them on that level, right? Because if you really think about it, that's what they're looking for in the first place. They want your attention. They see something and they got something to say. There's some nasty people out there at work, and you know what I'm talking about. Always got some negative comment. Doesn't matter. That's why a lot of times these testimonials, when they're all good, they're lies. I don't even pay attention to that. But when they're negative and you hear all that foolishness, it just brings you down. And there's so many sometimes that you just can't even pay attention to it. So consider not engaging at all. It's hard to please everyone, and it's hard to meaningfully connect with someone over a comment board. This is especially true when a person has a habit of making hateful remarks. This is the nature of having an online presence. Some people may hate you for the very things that others love you for. It's hard to know, but you got to know yourself, and you got to know what you want to put up with. You're going to have to stay grounded, right? Really, maintain some perspective. These haters may be incredibly annoying right now, and they may even be making your life miserable. But think about how much that really matters. Odds are that before you know it, you'll be in a completely different headspace. Life is change by its very nature. Do not let these haters dominate your life when they can be a minor, unpleasant aspect of it. It depends on how much you're going to let it take control of you. You got choices. What choice you make is going to make a difference in your life. How much attention you're going to give to these haters. Remember that the experience is usually temporary. If it's not temporary, I told you take some of these steps, right? Think about how long you'll have to deal with these haters. Imagine yourself in 5 years. Consider where you want to go and what you want to do. And remember, whenever we're trying to advance and trying to do better, there's always people trying to weigh us down. Some of us threaten people just by our very inspirations in life and things that we want to do that they'll never understand. So if you try to pass it through them, a lot of them, well, I don't think you could do that. They got something negative to say. You know what I mean? So what happens is they try to keep you down. And if you let them, they will. A lot of times it ain't even worth asking some of them. Or if you're getting that negative feedback, you might have to block them out. Ask yourself whether these haters will be a part of your life in 5 years. Odds are you know your haters through school or work. You know what I mean? There's a very good chance you know who your haters are. Especially if they're making some comment. They could be jealous people. You could have been with their boyfriend or girlfriend and they're coming at you, on the platform all the time. They just won't give up. Do you understand? There's a good chance that after a few years, you'll never have to see these haters again. You're going to have to persevere until then. If these haters will still be a part of your life in 5 years, ask yourself what you can do to change that. Like if you can see these people not going away, can you change schools? Can you change workplaces? You know what I mean? Can you change yourself? Can you confront them now and take care of the problem? If the haters will not be a part of your life in 5 years, think about why. Perhaps you're going away to college, or you're switching to a different job, or moving to a different company, or even a different country. You're shifting your social circle. Is there any way you can make this transition happen sooner? Like all these things are possible and you can take control of them, especially if you see that, oh man, this is going to be going on. I got to start taking some steps right now to make sure this person's not going to be a part of it. Or I got to change up my online store so that I got some privacy in there, And there's one thing that you could do too. Like even if you have a Shopify, you can set it up where it's password protected, where you have your loyal customers, they get a password, all right, and they can access your store. A lot of people don't know that. But the truth is you could have it open to the public, or you could just have it password protected. And I suggest that if you have people that, are going in there and acting the fool or making comments or messing up your game, then you want to get the password going, right? All you got to do is contact customer service or go through that site. You understand? And there will be times where forgiveness has to get into your heart. You're going to have to forgive some haters. Sometimes you got to do that. You got to look at them and just, I didn't say absorb their foolishness forever. I mean forgive it and move on if you have to. Understand that hatred reflects back upon the one who spreads it. These people are likely not hating on you because any wrongness or deficiency on your part. Odds are that on some level, they are uncomfortable with their own identities. Some people even act hatefully because they are jealous or because they don't want to stop. They don't want to stop. They don't want to think about how their words impact others. Find the empathy to open your heart. You don't need a religion to do that. You don't need anybody to tell. You got to start doing it for yourself, because sometimes it's too much baggage. Somebody's hating you and they're going at you, and then you go back at them. And it's just like every time I see that person, we're going back and forth, or every time they make a comment, I got to go. It's too much, people. It's too much weight. It's called too much backpack. You got to shed the weight, lighten the load, live your life. See, if you forgive your haters, you may find that their words no longer bother you. Try to understand where they're coming from. Expand your awareness beyond your own experience and your own insecurities. Do not mistake belittlement for forgiveness. Avoid telling yourself that these haters are just stupid or petty or small-minded. Even if these things are true, remind yourself that even haters are human beings with their own thoughts and feelings. See, I know it's not going to be easy. And I know haters are going to be out there. And I do suggest that one thing that we be mindful of is the fact that we don't want to fall prey to engaging too much with haters. Because what it does is it hardens our heart. You could be a wonderful person and you could be around haters or experience too much hate in your life, and then you reflect back and you just break down. You just cry because you're just like, I'm just trying to be me. And this person who's hating has just made me hard. And I don't want to be hard. I know who I am. I know the love that I have of my family and my friends. But I feel that I got to protect myself, so I get hard. And then you harden yourself. And sometimes when you harden yourself, you leave yourself vulnerable in the sense that you're not open to all things. And you want to be in the sense that you want to be open to love. So you might push back a little bit. You got to be a little bit tough, but be careful, because some people have a tendency, it becomes contagious. You know what I mean? Those people who are negative, they got a lot of issues, and it could end up being your issues. And that's why the counselor is telling you, be aware. Don't just react all the time. Understand, and I have to say, sometimes really, a lot of us have to look at the situation and say, look at it as negativity. And I really want you to take some time and write out some of the negative experiences that you have, especially when you consider haters. Like if you got online posts about yourself, or if somebody's always making these comments, I want you to write it down for a week, all the experiences that you're having. And the hate that you might be experiencing, that, or people in your life that show you hate that you got to defend yourself again, or you love to be in that environment, but it's that one person that has a tendency to show their hate and you respond to it. So it just makes you a hardened person. So I'd like you to document some of that information. All right. Like take it and write it down. Write down people, experiences, do it for a week. Things that you encounter, that there could be really situations where you're experiencing this trauma and it's gotten to this traumatic point, and that you need to deal with this on some level. And you want to make sure you lighten your load. So you look at it. And there's nothing better than reviewing your information and looking at things and saying, look, this is what's going on. This is actually for, because believe me, everything that comes in, if it don't go out, it makes you harder. Right? Like you got to remember, people put negativity in your mind. You got to get rid of it. You can't just keep it. Somehow you either got a rational mind and it becomes irrational, or it stays rational because you know how to get rid of it. You know how to filter it. You know how to deal with it, or you're seeing a counselor. And that's what I also recommend. A counselor says, see a counselor. If you got a lot on your mind and you're dealing with a lot of hate, or you yourself have a lot of hate in you, and you just are experiencing this thing inside you, this animal that has grown, and you don't even know why you're doing some of the things that you do. And I'm going to tell you, this is where you have to be honest. Because with yourself, not with anybody, with yourself. Some of you, if you're really honest, there are people we're mean to And we don't know what it is. Sometimes it's just something innocent. That person ain't did nothing to us, but there's something about the situation where you're mean to that person. Have you ever had a friend say, "Hey, why are you so mean and tough on that person? Like that person ain't do," and you're just like, "I don't know what it is. They just get on. I don't care." You know what I mean? That dismissive thing. But what I'm saying is, there could be something inside of you. And that's why sometimes you do need to seek some help. I'm not talking about just talking to a family member or friend. Sometimes you need to talk to a counselor. And I say that. People go, "Oh, counselors don't work." No, I'm going to tell you something right now about a counselor. The good thing about a counselor is it's just about the process and understanding that if you have things on your mind, whether the counselor's for a month, whether you see them 1 month in the year, whether you see them consistently, or whether you follow them through a program, the opportunity to speak your truth or to express your emotion. We are taking in emotions and information. It's just amazing how much we're dealing with, right? How much we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis that we just happen to absorb, filter, let go, whatever. But things impact. Everything that affects you has an impact. And we need to understand it. Now, there are counselors that you might not like. There's counselors that you might not gel with, but you might have to find them. You know what I mean? A psychologist, or right, but just a third voice that once in a while you can just reflect on. You could just talk to them about it. You don't necessarily have to get a host of old suggestions. No, counselors ain't supposed to be telling you what to do. They're supposed to be listening to you and letting you figure out, okay, and bringing you through what's really going on and guiding you, but not telling you exactly what to do. That's not what the counselor's supposed to do. The counselor has information for you, right? But they're not supposed to tell you what to do with that information. They can provide information, but they're not supposed to direct you, because if you think about it, if they tell you to take certain steps and you take them and it goes right off the edge, then it's no good. So they're not supposed to be there to tell. So a lot of people are afraid of that. A lot of people don't believe it's going to help, and all counselors aren't the same. But you might have to experience a few before you find one that is good for you. It's just a strong suggestion that if you're having challenges dealing with some of the hate and it's becoming too much, it's okay to get help. It's okay to go there. You don't have to let everybody know what you're doing. But if it gets to be too much, I do express the importance of informing people around you that it's too much or it's getting heavy on your mind. I'm not saying everyone. You can't trust everyone all the time, but you can let important people who you trust in your life. And you know what? And that's the thing, like I said, about going to a professional, not a counselor. A lot of people like, "Oh, go to your church counselor." Yeah, that's true too, but they're very biased. And the one issue I have with that is that there's like, there's no disclaimers in the sense that their obligation might be personal if they feel that there's danger. But when it comes to professional, they have to abide by certain guidelines. And there's a really good chance that they don't know people that you know. A person in the church, you can go to speak to them. I'm not saying that, but be mindful that, it could get out there. I really don't believe there's such a thing as a secret, whether it gets out this year, next year, or in 5 years, especially around people that you know. But if people that you respect in a professional environment and they respect you, it's usually confidential, okay? And make sure you're aware of that, okay? So, all I'm saying is I want you to take care of yourself, people, and remember that there are haters out there. And if you're one of those haters, you need to look at yourself and you need to take care of some work. You need to start taking care of that, where that comes from. What's driving this behavior? And sometimes when people are giving you some feedback and you're not taking it, maybe you need to do a double take and figure out if this person say you're being a little edgy quite often, or if you're starting to lose too many friends, or or you're starting to look in people's eyes and you don't see they're genuine, then there's something off with you. You're not being right. You're not being 100. And you got to be 100. You got to keep it real. Okay? And you got to let them know how you feel. But a lot of people can look in your eyes. Just like, to me, this is like students looking at a teacher. Students can break down a teacher just by looking at them. They can, believe it or not, whether you want to hear from them or not, they're very receptive. They can look at teachers and see if there's something going on or not, as far as their emotions, their behaviors, or whatever. Whether they have the power or not, there are very, very astute individuals who could just break it down. And those 99% of the time are students. Students are very observant. A lot of them could see when it comes to adults. They can read a lot of them, okay, non-verbally. So what I'm saying to you is, in the end, I want you to show your love. And if you're not able to show your love, find out ways to show your love. And don't take on too much. And don't put too much work in the haters. Watch them and make sure they're not getting out of control. But try not to invest too much time in haters. Just protect yourself and your loved ones and make sure that you're not engaging in any hateful behavior. All right, so I want you to take care of yourself and be like the wise old bird and spread the word. And I want you to go to theclsr.myshopify.com. Get yourself a t-shirt, put in work, get some gear. Let them know we're here. All right, the CLSR t-shirt. Get that black one, it's beautiful. Take care of yourself.